everyone, it's Zoe from Seneca, and today we're going to be talking about predicting ionic charges, which is almost as exciting as predicting the future. Not quite, but it's almost there. So, we can predict the charge of an ion based on the element's position in the periodic table. The main factor that affects the charge on an elemental ion is which group it's in on the periodic table. This theory does not apply to the transition metals, so don't even go there. Don't even try it. Elements often tend to lose or gain electrons in order to achieve a full outer shell of electrons. The number of electrons they must lose to achieve this correlates to their number in the periodic table. We'll go into that more. So, the metallic groups sit on the left-hand side of the periodic table. They tend to lose electrons in order to achieve a full shell of electrons. This results in them forming positive ions because they've lost an electron, which means they've lost negative charge. The magnitude of this positive charge is equal to the number of electrons the element must lose to achieve a full shell. Okay, so, for example, sodium. Sodium is in group 1, so sodium has 1 electron in its outer shell. So sodium tends to lose 1 electron to achieve a full outer shell. Yeah, okay. So sodium forms an ion with a charge of +1. Calcium is in group 2. Calcium has 2 electrons in its outer shell. Group 2, so 2 electrons in the outer shell. So it tends to lose 2 electrons to achieve a full outer shell. So calcium forms an ion with a charge of 2+. The non-metallic groups sit on the right-hand side of the periodic table. They tend to gain electrons in order to achieve a full shell of electrons. This results in them forming negative ions because they've gained negative charge. The magnitude of the negative charge is equal to the number of electrons the element must gain to achieve a full shell. So for example, fluorine is in group 7, so fluorine has 7 electrons in its outer shell. Therefore, fluorine tends to gain 1 electron to achieve a full outer shell. Thus, fluorine forms an ion with a charge of -1. Sulfur is in group 6. So sulfur has 6 electrons in its outer shell, and therefore it tends to gain 2 electrons to form a full shell, C8. So sulfur forms an ion with a charge of -2. Okay, let's look at some more questions. Oxygen is in group 6 of the periodic table. What charge does an oxygen ion have? 2-. Okay. We must learn that some specific ionic compounds that come up a lot in chemistry. They're often called complex ions. So nitrate is a very common ionic compound. NO3- is the formula for a nitrate ion. You must remember the nitrate ions have a charge of -1. You just have to remember it. OH- is the formula for a hydroxide ion. You must remember that hydroxide ions have a charge of -1. CO3 is the formula for a carbonate ion. You must remember it has a charge of -2. Sulfate ions, they have a formula of SO4 2-. So this one you have to remember that sulfate ions have a charge of -2. The ammonium ion is the protonated form of ammonia. NH4+ is the formula for an ammonium ion. You must remember that ammonium ions have a charge of +1. You cannot determine the charge of a transition metal based on its position on the periodic table as you can for the other elements. Sorry for you. You must remember the charge on 2 common transition metal ions. This is silver, which is Ag+, and zinc, which is Zn2+, Zn2+. What is the charge of these complex ions? Okay, just going to run through them. SO4 2-, OH-, carbonate, CO3 2-, ammonium, NH4+, and nitrate, NO3-. What charge does a lithium ion have? Well, it's in group 1, Therefore, it loses 1 electron to gain a full outer shell, so the charge is +1. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks very much for joining, and we'll see you on the next episode for sure.